your mind is racing right now with anxious thoughts and worry, I want you to understand that, as spun out as you feel right now, this sensation will pass. Your body is well able to handle it. Your mind is well able to handle it. As unpleasant as all of this feels, you're not in any danger. Thoughts will not harm you. You are safe. You absolutely have what it takes to handle these very unpleasant, anxious thoughts. I'm going to talk you through some approaches that will help you feel more at ease. Start by taking a deep breath in, hold, and release. And another one, breathing in, hold, and release. It's perfectly normal to start fearing for your sanity when anxious thoughts race wildly around your mind. But you have to understand they're nothing more than the result of elevated stress hormones mixed with mental exhaustion. A thought is just a thought. It's not a fact. The fact that you think something doesn't make it so, nor does it reflect on the person you are. Don't mistake the content of your thoughts for the person you are. These thoughts don't represent the real you. The very fact that you're responding with anxiety to these thoughts proves that you're perfectly normal. You're not losing it. You're just suffering from the side effects of high anxiety. On average, we have about 50,000 thoughts every day. Many of these are bizarre and wacky. We all have them. The only difference is that when you're feeling highly sensitized, these thoughts really stand out and grab your attention. You then feel a jolt of fear, like an electrical zap, when you respond to them in horror. For example, driving in your car, you might have an out-of-the-blue thought that scares or shocks you. Zap. You react in terror and feel the jolt of fear in your stomach. That thought alone is enough to knock the wind right out of you. How could I think such a thing? I must be going mad. Zap, zap. All of this self-doubt and fear leads to more anxious thoughts, and you're back in that vicious cycle of anxiety. Everyone's initial response is to react in fear to anxious thoughts and then try to push them away. But this is the key mistake we all make. The harder you push those thoughts away from your mind, the harder they bounce back. Remember as a child when you played with an inflatable beach ball in the pool? Every time you tried to push it down under the water to sit on it, it just kept springing back up with the same force you used to keep it down, often hitting you in the face. The same goes for these anxious thoughts. You simply can't expect to get peace from them by pushing them away. The only way to get peace is to allow that beach ball to float along beside you. You must stop responding with fear to the thoughts that terrify you and learn to accept and allow them. When I say accept and allow an intrusive thought, I don't mean that you agree with the content of the thought. I mean that you accept the thought for what it is. A random thought generated by an anxious mind and nothing more. Remember, you can't control intrusive thoughts or worries. You can only control your response to them. You diffuse the anxious thought by being flippant or humorous towards it instead of being scared by it. Use whatever response you feel achieves that goal. It's a bit like the way you might respond to a small child who comes into the room dressed as a monster trying to scare you. "Oh, you're so big and scary," you say with a smile. Then allow the anxious thoughts to be present without any resistance. Let them stay for as long as they like. You can think of the thoughts spinning around like a spinning top. The more you can just let them run and be accepting of the discomfort they create, the faster they spin themselves out of energy. What fuels them is your reaction. Remember the beach ball example. If you try to push it down, it will bounce back with the same force. So let the thoughts be present and then gently move your attention back to what you were doing. Engage with whatever is at hand. Keep gently moving your awareness back to where you want it to be each time the anxious thought interrupts you. Each time it tries to bait you, don't get hooked in, but rather keep gently moving your attention back to what you were doing. Once you remove the emotional response to intrusive thoughts, you normalize them, and they no longer have the emotional power to reel you in. They fall away all by themselves naturally, as they've nothing to cling on to. Here's an exercise to help you implement this. Imagine yourself lying on your back in a field watching the clouds pass overhead. Some of these clouds are white and puffy, while others are dark and grey. Each cloud represents a thought. You're the passive observer, just watching as each one of them floats by, and they always float by. Watching your thoughts in a detached manner allows you not to judge any of the clouds or get sucked in. You're the silent observer, just watching. Label each thought as you become aware of it. Oh, there's that weird thought again. Oh well. And then just let it float on past. As they float away, tell yourself that you're excited by the nervous arousal that you feel in your mind and body. When you eventually get bored of observing these thoughts, place your attention back on an activity that holds your attention. Be open and allowing for more anxious thoughts to soon interrupt you, and when they do, just repeat the steps over again. The mental tension you feel will dissipate very fast if you practice this attitude of non-resistance to these intrusive thoughts. There will be times it'll be easy to do, and then there'll be moments when you're tired and feeling vulnerable, and the thoughts just get the upper hand. That's just how it is sometimes. Practice and practice, and eventually you'll get it. Please remember, you are not these thoughts. These anxious thoughts don't represent the real you. They're just the result of your creative imagination mixed with anxiety and exhaustion. In fact, rather than beat yourself up over them, you can congratulate yourself on your creative ability. Dull, boring people don't have the kind of creative imagination you do.